Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing Destiny 2, the full game, on the GeForce GTX 1050, 2GB for FPS monitoring. This time I won't be using cam, since this game doesn't allow any overlays, so I'll be using the in-game FPS counter. And if you enjoyed the content and want to support the channel directly, there are Humble and Amazon affiliate links down in the description. So Destiny 2, the full game, I'll be doing 1080p, 900p, 720p and 1440p. To skip none of those sections of the video, check the description below. So across the whole video I'll show you pretty much a 30 frames per second configuration and a close to 60 frames per second configuration. What this means is that I will try to crank up the settings as much as possible, trying to stay over 30 frames per second, and then I'll lower the settings accordingly in order to get over 50 frames per second if possible. The problem was that it seems that some areas of this game, when there's a lot of detail into the distance, I tend to get drops below 50 frames per second no matter the resolution, so it seems to be a CPU bottleneck thing. But the majority of the time that I've been playing, the game was over 50 frames per second on my tweak configurations. But overall the game is running quite well, and this card is running very close to the 1050 Ti. It's just like 5 to 10 frames behind. That's why I lowered the settings a little bit lower than on my 1050 Ti video. And in order to not run out of VRAM, I just kept the game with medium textures. Anything over that gave me or blurred textures, or just the game had some stutters every now and then. If you don't mind about that, just use high textures. But I could even run it at 1440p 30 frames per second using very decent settings. So if you don't care about the frame rate, maybe try 1440p, it runs quite well. In all my Destiny 2 videos on the final game, I used the latest NVIDIA drivers, which are the game ready drivers version 388. So keep that in mind. And well, for the testing methodology, I just decided to run into one of the main areas, which is a big area compared with most of the places on the beta, so we get more CPU usage. Unfortunately, I cannot show you CPU, GPU and RAM usage since this game is blocking overlays, so I cannot use MSI Afterburner, CAM's overlay doesn't work either. This game is just blocking code injection, so you cannot really see that in an overlay in this game. So when I was testing the game, I just Alt-Tab out of the game, look at the CPU and GPU usage, and so far for what I could see on the G4560 on these open areas that I tested, there was some drops in the GPU usage on all the cards, excepting on the 750 Ti for example. So if we're targeting 60 frames per second, the G4560 seems to be close to our target. It sometimes drops to 50 frames per second due to the CPU. It's usually when you look far into the distance, not really a long period of time. So I think that it's still good enough to use the G4560 on this game. Then on the Ryzen 3 1200 with the 3.9 GHz overclock, it happened less often, so we had a better average frame rate. So yeah, if you have a modern i5 and i7, something like that, maybe a Ryzen 5 1600 overclocked, it should be enough to be over 60 frames per second without a problem. Then in the options menu, I used, well, what you see on screen, 105 degrees FOV. On the anti-aliasing option, we don't have MSAA anymore. Bungie said that it wasn't working well with the game, with the way they render the game, so they decided to remove MSAA. So we have FXAA and SMAA. Then the rest of the options is pretty much the same as the beta. So I'll just tell you the ones that I lowered in order to get the best performance. Screen space, ambient occlusion, give me a decent boost in performance. Anti-aliasing from SMAA to FXAA is like 3 or 5 frames. Then the fulfilled, I recommend lowering this. It's a hit to the frame rate as well, quite noticeable. Shadows obviously are also a hit to performance, so I recommend keeping that on medium or high. It's usually the best balance performance quality. And then we have the draw distance. We have environment, character, foliage detail and foliage shadows distances. So those 4 options control different draw distances. The main one that helped me to get the best performance by lowering it was environment detail and foliage shadows distance. The other ones also gave me a boost by lowering them, but it wasn't as big of a boost compared to environment and foliage shadows. But yeah, overall it runs pretty good even on budget hardware. So yeah, thank you so much for watching guys, and see you next time.
Eliminating that captain under the church must have drawn the rest of the fallen out.
They won't stop coming. We need to make sure that signal is strong. You better hurry up and place that second node.
Let's bring them home, you and I, huh?
Uf.